Alrighty, Art Soundoff, Troy Ackerman here with you, Troy A, Shadow Electronics. Now, let me ask you guys something. Here's your plot. Here's your plot. Kazar, the savage man from the jungle man from the Savage Land, is in New York and asks the Avengers' help in order to learn how to drive a car. While he's there, dinosaurs show up, and the Avengers have to decide which is worse, being eaten by a T-Rex or teaching Kazar how to drive. Sound like a fun story? This is the cover they gave that comic. Look at that. Just the Avengers standing around, boring, no pin-up thing. Happens a lot of time. And it's something that's been bugging me for a long time. So I said, the heck with it, I'm going to draw my own cover. Remember this? This is the cover that I came up with. Only, if you've seen my new article series, Recovered, you saw this in nice, happy color. Because I had that option. Let me see if I can do something here. It's recording. I'm going to try something. Here is what it looks like in color. I don't know about this coming out because I have to see the other screen, so I'm hoping you see this. That's what I came up with. I hope you saw that well enough. I won't know until this is done. But Recovered is an article series that I've been wanting to do on and off for a while. And pretty much recently when I've seen so many comics that you just had this pin-up cover that did not display what the comic is about. And that's kind of a thing with me. When you're doing a regular comic series and you're on a shelf, comics is on a shelf with all these other comics, and you're fighting to get yours noticed, why put up a boring pin-up cover? Why would you not want a cover that... Look at this. It's a dinosaur chasing Spider-Man, Wolverine, and if you know who he is, Kazar. This is going to get you like, wait a minute, here's a bunch of superheroes, two of which I've seen in the movies, being chased by a dinosaur. What the heck is going on? I'm going to look at this comic. Versus, oh look, here's a picture of a bunch of superheroes. Now that's neat. What else we got? This does not sell a cover as well as this. And it was one thing in the past when you were doing an anthology series. You couldn't decide what character to focus on, so you have a generic picture featuring one of the characters, and then some of the others will kind of be in this up to the trying to put this down on the side. Here's these other characters. But when you got to the point when you were doing maybe one story an issue, and they started making covers that sold the story inside, or if you're Julia Sports, they made the cover first and forced the writers to make some story, which sounds like a great kind of self-teaching project, something to get the idea machine going, but to make that the way you run your comic company just seems a little odd to me. It's like good practice, but not something you should be doing on a regular basis. Because then that's why some of the civil rights stories were so silly. But your cover is going to sell your comic. I mean, it's one thing if you're doing a web comic that doesn't have set things like Star Power, for example, because they also offer the comics in download, and they used to offer in print. Now they only sell the compilation story arcs. But their covers for individual issues kind of try to make things interesting. A good cover does try to make a comic interesting. Let me see if I can put in the sample here. Here's the comics I've reviewed this week. Now it's just playing. Oh, here's Dark Heart getting blasted. That's kind of a curiosity. Here's an interesting one. Here's some evil-looking guy, which we know is Mr. Sinister, um, getting reaching out for Beast and Spider-Man. You can get artsy with your cover, and still make it interesting that somebody's going to want to pick it up and look, because you don't have the from the comic book, you don't have the advantage of back here. Comic book, you don't have the advantage of the back of the novel. All you have is the front. And there's one thing with a licensing, you can have all these characters in here, but if you're doing, even if you're doing a novel, how you do a cover should be interesting. It needs to grab your a potential reader's attention, because that's when it's going to make you stand out among everybody else. And it frustrates me that so many modern covers, and this, I guess it might have started somewhere in the 90s, but it's really taking off kind of in the 2000s when they're not really making. Here's how I think of it. I think of a comic cover as the teaser, and nowadays we're inundated with teasers to the point where we have a teaser for the trailer, which I don't understand, but this is a thing that's actually happened. I think Star Wars has done that. But your comic cover is your teaser. It's the thing that's going to hook a potential reader as they look on the shelf and see interesting story. You know, why so many artists just want to do this little pin-up things? Like, yeah, fine, great artwork, but writers and artists have to work together, and part of that working together is to make a cover that is interesting. And I'm sorry, this is a cool picture. It might make a nice poster, but it doesn't have the attention grabber that I don't remember what the story's about. It's been a while since I've read it. Doesn't have attention grabber. This is a nice piece of artwork. It doesn't grab my attention as much as seeing superheroes being chased by a dinosaur. This makes me say, I wonder what this story is about. This says, I'd love to have that as a poster, and that's not what you want from your cover. It's what you want from the poster rack. It's not what you want from the comic rack. So keep this in mind when you're doing a cover. I mean, you can be a little fancy. You don't have to just be straight out show a scene or anything. You can do something like the Adventures of the X-Men cover. Just hopefully draw it better, because that's the 90s. But make it visually. You can do something artistic, but it needs to demonstrate what's going on in the comic book, and that's just the fact that, hey, these characters are on here. Show me something in the story. Tell me in one picture. Describe this comic. What is this comic about? Is it about a bunch of guys standing around near in the forest, or is it about being chased by a dinosaur in a car? And which would you pick up better? If you were walking down a shelf, which one would you be more drawn to? And from there, think about that when you make the cover to your comic. I got to a point when I was doing the comics in the half-folded paper or the notebooks, because you can actually get a lot of comics out of a 3-subject notebook if you use the manila paper. True fact. But I've got to a point where I didn't actually draw the cover until I finished the comic, until I got all the pages through and said, okay, well, this is where I need to stop. So then go back and say, okay, so then what did I do in this comic? How do I express this in one image? Let's see if I got it. I'm not proud of the art in issue 2 of Captain Yuletide, but look at this. Yeah, it's not a very exciting logo, I admit that, so I don't know if that makes me a hypocrite, but I was at least going for a look of, it looks like a present tag. Someday I want to try and come up with a much cooler logo, but that was I was kind of in a hurry and I haven't had time to design anything new. I've been lucky I even got this comic out 2 years ago, and last year I didn't even get to finish the comic I've been working on. So I'm hoping to fix that. But look at it. It probably could have been drawn a lot better, and it's not even as good as my recovered one here. But this is making me sorry, video perspective. And here's this big mysterious person, and here comes the Captain Yuletide for that year, and Bryce, and here's Santa locked in a cage, and like, who's this mysterious person that the superhero is going to go fight? This was something, like I said, I think I came up with this before because I already knew the story completely. But when I do a comic, it's just I'm going to make it up as I go along and see where the story takes me. I will not do the cover until I finish that issue, and then I'll know. Then I'll go back and say, okay, what kind of image would best sell this issue? Or if I find a moment in the comic that I know I want to capture, that I know would grab somebody's attention had I actually published it, what would it look like? And that's how I go with it. So please, artists, comic creators, think about your cover as your teaser, as the thing that's going to hook somebody to buy your comic. And don't just do some lame little pin-up. I mean, do a pin-up in the back of the book if you want. Do it on the back cover if you want. But if you're going to make a regular comic that's going to be printed, that's going to be downloaded, or that I'm going to hold in my hands, if I see it looking through the shelf, or if I'm looking through a site like Kablam, or no, Kablam's the publisher. What's your Indie Planet, I think, is their distribution link. But I'm going to look at the images it's in the listing on the page, and the ones that are going to get my attention are the ones that have a cool cover to it. Just something to think about when you're creating your comic. So, with that, and I'm over time again, I am going to take Friday off again. Monday will be the last Art Soundoff challenge, because that's the end of the Art Soundoff challenge for November. If you want to know what's going on, go to leantoart.com/artsoundoff. Go to twitter.com/artsoundoff, and you'll get to see everybody else who's taking part in this thing. You'll learn what the event is about. Maybe next year you'll want to join in, or maybe somewhere in these last few days you'll be inspired to say something. Go ahead. We're all yours. We're all willing to learn something new with some really cool people. But with that, I will see you on Monday for the wrap-up edition of Art Soundoff, BW's Art Soundoff. Until then, good weekend. Hope you didn't eat too much yesterday, and happy cartooning.